Hello everybody, welcome back to the Fintech Times. We're here at Money2020 in Europe with Jose Marti from PayRetailers. How are you, Jose?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Good. Are you glad to be at the event today?
I'm very excited. This is our second year in a row coming, and it's a wonderful show. So it's a must go in the payment space.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a walk around just before the interview, and saw everybody was here. It was massive. It was just room after room. I couldn't believe it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's all very exciting. So yeah, as we mentioned, you're from PayRetailers. Why don't you tell us a bit about who your company is, what you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Jose Marti, as you said earlier. I'm the head of global sales for PayRetailers. We're a payment service provider for Latin America. So with one single integration, we give our merchants access to over 250 different forms of payment in the Latin American market.
Well, that's brilliant. I mean, it's a booming market at the moment, as I'm sure you're aware. It's very promising. So, in terms of your solution, you take a very holistic approach to what you offer. What do you think is important about the consolidation of services like that?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important, especially in a market like Latin America, where you have different regulations, different laws, different things you're allowed to do with moving money and from one country to another, and especially for our merchants in Europe that want to settle back into the European Union. Each country is going to have different laws about the way you can take funds out of the country. So I think consolidating all that into one single agreement, one single API, just makes life a lot easier for European merchants that want to attack this booming market, like you said earlier.
It's always better to bring everything sort of together under one roof, if you could put it like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, you're very popular. Your solution is very popular. In terms of, for example, if I was an international merchant, what value would I be getting out of using your service?
Absolutely. So we're talking about a market that's growing about 35% year over year when it comes to online purchases. And when you want to enter Latin America, you would have to set up a local entity, a local bank account, and keep everything local for each one of the markets that you'd want to operate in Latin America. And you're talking about a region with over 10 different currencies. So you can understand the time and effort that it would take to do this. But with our solution, you do not need to have a local entity. You can attack the market from one day to the other and accept payments from this market that's quite popular these days.
Well, as we know that Latin America is a very, very big continent, and I don't want to keep this question exclusively to Latin America, but are there any countries that you've got your sights set on this year? Any that you're really looking to sort of make a splash in?
Yeah, absolutely. So we focus solely on Latin America, and the reason why we do that is because it's such a complex market. It's so difficult. Like I said earlier, I mean, you've got 10 different currencies in this region. It's not like the European Union where it's all consolidated. The rules, regulations are pretty much similar across the continent. Each country, it's like a different world pretty much, right? You can't compare Argentina to Brazil, even if they're right next to each other. So I think the countries that are growing the most, given the population, right? It's naturally Mexico, it's Brazil, it's Argentina, but more and more we're hearing the need of merchants to attack markets like Peru, like Ecuador, Chile, Colombia, smaller countries that are making a big boom in what's e-commerce and adaptation to online purchases a lot quicker due to COVID, honestly, really, because it was a region that wasn't very prone to making purchases online. There were more the consumers there were more used to doing the typical brick and mortar shopping, and COVID has accelerated that adaptation to online purchases.
I mean, you're absolutely right, and it's something that we've really seen across the globe as being like one of these byproducts of the pandemic, is this real race to digitalization. PayRetailers was founded in 2017,
Correct.
Right? And you've sort of touched upon in some of your other answers about the complexity of the market and how different each market is within South America. And you're a Spanish company, so I think my question to you would be, you're doing very well in Latin America, but why not Asia? Why not other countries in Europe? What specifically drew you to Latin America?
That's a fantastic question, and I think that's where we stand out. I think that's where we differentiate from the rest of the competitors out there in the space, is that we only focus in Latin America because if you want to do Latin America correctly, you need to give it your 100% attention. The rules, the laws, the regulation, they change from one day to the other. So even though we're based in Spain and our headquarters is in Barcelona, we've got presence and people in each and every one of the markets that we're operating in, studying the market, compliance people, legal, to make sure that we're staying on top of rules and regulations. The laws are changing, especially when there's new political elections. That always plays a role into what can happen and how you can operate online with the flow of funds and moving money. And that's the reason why we only focus in Latin America, because of the attention that this market requires if you want to do it correctly. I believe that being a European company allows us to understand the European mindset and mentality, and at the same time having this local presence, we're allowed to give our European consumers, for example, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And you spoke about like wanting to give it your full attention, and I really see how you wouldn't want to spread yourself too thinly, if that makes any sense. So you mentioned before about the effect that the pandemic had on the markets of Latin America. Did you see any payment technologies that are really coming forward to fill the gap? Is there anything that's maybe doing better than anything else? I mean, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I think we had looked at a market that was quite cash heavy, and don't get me wrong, it's still extremely cash heavy, especially in a market like Mexico, where consumers are used to even making online purchases with cash. But the pandemic has accelerated things like Pix in Brazil, which is an online bank transfer method. It's an instant online bank transfer method. And those online banking transactions are gaining great popularity. Each country's coming up with their own consolidated open banking platform, right? So you can choose any of the banks of that specific country to be able to make a purchase online. So I think online bank transfers are what's growing, and the payment options that we're going to be seeing more and more. And I mean, today about 62% of all online transactions in Brazil are happening via Pix. And I have a feeling each market is going to replicate what's going on in Brazil.
Well, that was a very good answer, and it really goes to show what technologies are really coming forward. And if we look beyond the technologies, if we look at the industries that they're going into, do you notice that there are any industries that are using the technology more prevalently? And if so, which ones are PayRetailers betting on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would look at it as a vertical as a whole, right? So I would look at it as the e-commerce industry, right? Mm-hmm. Anything that's card not present is booming right now in Latin America. Obviously, after the adaptation of the consumers, given the pandemic and them having no other choice but to purchase online. So anything that's processing online, it's growing a lot. And we at PayRetailers do not really focus on one specific industry, right? Our product can adapt to each and every one of the industries that operates with card not present transactions. So I would bet on the e-commerce space. I mean, it's, like I said earlier, it's growing about 35% year over year, looking to be about $160 billion market by 2025. So that's what we're betting on, the growth of online payments in Latin America.
Well, you're not just sending your service to Latin America. Your company has actually just completed 2 acquisitions, I believe, of a Chilean company and of a Peruvian company. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that and what made that necessary?
Yeah, so it's a Chilean company, Paygol, and Colombian company, Pago Digital. It just goes to show our commitment to the Latin American market, right? We're we're partnered with almost every fintech association of the countries that we operate in, and we're official sponsors of the CONMEBOL, we're official sponsors of the SLAD, and that shows that even us being a European company, our full commitment is Latin America, and we need to make sure that we can serve our consumers, even though they are in Europe, as if they were in Latin America. Give them that that guidance from a local perspective rather than cross-border perspective. So that was the reason behind the acquisitions. I think it goes to show that we're committed to Latin America, that we want to do this better than anyone else, and that we want to serve our clients and our merchants in the best possible way. Even though there's a huge distance between two continents, we want to make sure that they're being treated and they're being able to process as if they had a local entity, as if they were there in the market. And I think that's what these two acquisitions represent from the eyes of a consumer.
Was there anything that surprised you when you made the acquisition? Was there anything that surprised you about the market from making these acquisitions?
We knew what we were doing, I guess. These are two markets, Chile and Colombia, that are growing immensely. I mean, a lot less developed as Brazil or Mexico, these huge countries, but we know that they are going to be replicating what's going on in Mexico and what's going on in Brazil. So there was not much that, I guess, surprised me, because we know the market very well. But I think it was very strategic, and I think it's going to allow us to better serve our merchants.
And you spoke a lot about how different each market is in Latin America, and how there's not the same sort of blueprint each time you go across. Do you think that the localization of payment methods is the way forward to dominate the market?
Yes, I think it would be great if something like that can happen, similar to the European market. But from a cultural standpoint with the consumers, from how different each country is within the region, from even a political standpoint, I don't think this is a region where everything can get localized the same way it is in Europe, for example. I think there's going to be cultural tendencies that are going to change. There's going to be different currencies that are going to change per country's rules, regulations, laws. I mean, my example earlier with Brazil and Argentina being right next to each other, and how different that market, those two markets are, I think it would be very, very difficult to pretty much put the whole market as a whole when it comes to payments. And I think that's why it's really important to have a PSP like PayRetailers to allow you to overcome those complexities of the market.
And all through a single solution as well. You know, you've got so much to deal with, but you bring just one solution, like a holistic solution, so it works very well, I imagine.
Absolutely, and I guess the concept of an all-in-one solution goes far beyond our 250 payment options, goes far beyond our single agreement, our single API, our customer service. I think it goes beyond that to a market expertise standpoint, right? We're going to serve as your payments provider, but as your payments consultant at the same time, right? We know the market very well. We have people in each one of the markets. We're partnered with the Fintech Association, so we're able to not only give a very strong product to our merchants, but also advise on how to use and best take advantage of these different markets.
Yeah, I mean that's really important that you raise that point, because I feel like with sometimes with a lot of solutions, especially when you look at solutions that work internationally, is they give you the product, but I feel that some of them sometimes leave the guidance behind. And I think what you're describing is a very complex market. I think that's a really key feature to have in what you're offering. Now, my final question for you, Jose, is in regards to Money2020, what are you looking forward to in these 3-day event?
Yeah, absolutely. The Money2020 is a must-go event in the payment space. What I think we can do best here is partner with different gateways, different payment service providers that are not quite yet in Latin America, and partner together and help them allow their merchants to process in Latin America via our solution, because we can also do that. We have a host-to-host solution that allows for partnerships with different payment providers, and I think given how booming Latin America is today, I think there's going to be a lot of interest this year from a lot of the different gateways, a lot of the different payment providers, a lot of the different payment orchestration platforms, etc. So I'm looking forward to it. It's day one. I'm itching to be out on the floor and see what this event brings us.
Yeah, well, it's as you said, it's only day one, so anything could happen. Well, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Jose, and I hope you make the most of the 3 days ahead, and enjoy Amsterdam.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.